The kitchen light cast shadows across the granite countertop at 2 in the morning. I stood there in my boxer shorts and old work shirt, microwaving leftover pizza and wondering when my marriage had become a series of polite lies wrapped in passive-aggressive small talk. Cole Solen, 34 years old, project manager at Riverside Construction, father of 2, and apparently the world's most oblivious husband. That's what I told myself as I watched Vera's phone light up for the 5th time in 10 minutes on the counter beside her open laptop. My wife had returned from her book club an hour earlier, smelling like expensive cologne that definitely wasn't mine. She'd gone straight to bed without a word, leaving her devices charging in the kitchen like breadcrumbs for someone stupid enough to follow the trail. I wasn't stupid, just tired of pretending I didn't notice. The microwave beeped. I pulled out my sad dinner and stared at Vera's phone as another message made it buzz against the marble. The screen lit up just long enough for me to catch a glimpse of a name: Marcus Hallen. Regional VP at Vera's fintech company. Married guy with 2 kids and a reputation for closing deals and opening legs, according to the office gossip Vera used to share over dinner back when we still talked. I took a bite of cold pizza and made a decision that would change everything. "Vera," I called upstairs, loud enough to wake her. "Your phone's going crazy down here." No response. I tried again, louder this time. Still nothing. Either she was fast asleep or deliberately ignoring me. Given recent history, I assumed it was the latter. I walked over to her laptop. The screensaver showed our family vacation from last summer. Me, Vera, and our kids, Emma and Jake, building sandcastles on the beach. We looked happy. We looked like people who told each other the truth. The laptop wasn't password protected. Vera had always been careless about security, claiming she had nothing to hide. Another lie, apparently. I opened her email. The first message in her inbox made my stomach drop. "Can't wait for Chicago next week. Book the usual suite." I scrolled down. More messages. Hotel confirmations, flight itineraries, expense reports for business trips I'd never heard about. And underneath all the logistics, a thread of messages that made everything clear. "Tell Cole you're visiting your sister again. He's too stupid to check. The kids won't even notice I'm gone. They prefer their father anyway. After the divorce, we can stop sneaking around. My lawyer says I can get full custody if I play this right." I read that last line 3 times. Full custody. She was planning to take my kids. The phone buzzed again. This time I picked it up. Face ID didn't work in the dark, but Vera had never changed her passcode from our anniversary date. Another careless mistake that was about to cost her everything. The messages were worse than the emails, photos I won't describe, plans for weekend getaways, and most damning of all, a conversation from 2 weeks ago about how to make me look like an unfit father. Document everything, make him seem absent and irresponsible. Already started. I've been skipping the kids' events and telling everyone he chose not to come. Perfect. My cousin Eli says that kind of evidence is gold in family court. I set the phone down carefully and walked to the window. Our neighborhood looked peaceful in the moonlight. Tree-lined streets, well-maintained lawns, the kind of place where people trusted each other and kept their promises. That trust was about to become a weapon. I spent the next hour taking screenshots and forwarding evidence to my personal email. Every hotel receipt, every flight confirmation, every dirty message. By the time I finished, I had enough material to bury Vera's reputation 6 feet under. But evidence wasn't enough. If she wanted to play games with my children's future, she was about to learn that carpenters know how to build things, including cases for revenge. I closed the laptop and headed upstairs. Vera was sprawled across our king-size bed, still in her book club clothes, a black dress that cost more than my truck payment. She looked peaceful, innocent even. Looks can be deceiving. I got into bed beside my cheating wife and started planning her destruction. The next morning arrived with the usual chaos. Emma needed help with her science project, Jake couldn't find his soccer cleats, and Vera rushed around the kitchen making coffee and checking her phone every 30 seconds. "I have an early meeting," she announced, not looking up from her messages. "Can you handle drop-off?" I've handled drop-off every morning for the past 6 months, I thought, but I just nodded and helped Emma organize her volcano materials while Jake searched for his cleats under the couch. "Will you be home for dinner?" I asked. "Probably not. Big presentation tomorrow. I'll grab something at the office." Another lie. According to her calendar, the only thing scheduled for tonight was drinks with Marcus at the Riverside Hotel bar. "No problem," I said. "I'll make spaghetti. The kids love it." Vera finally looked at me, and for a moment I saw something that might have been guilt cross her face. Then her phone buzzed, and the moment passed. After she left, I called in sick to work and drove to Mick's Tavern, a blue-collar bar down by the river where I'd been drinking beer and shooting pool since college. Mick O'Brien ran the place like a combination bartender, therapist, and information broker. If you needed to know something about someone in this town, Mick was your guy. "Little early for a beer, even for you," Mick said as I slid onto a bar stool. "Coffee's fine. I need to ask you something." Mick poured black coffee into a chipped mug. "Shoot." "Marcus Hallen. What do you know about him?" Mick's eyebrows went up. "Your wife's boss? Heard he's been making the rounds lately. Why?" "Just curious." "Curiosity's expensive, Cole. You sure you want to pay that price?" I took a sip of coffee. It tasted like motor oil, but it was strong. "Tell me." "He's been in here twice in the past month. Different woman each time. Neither one was his wife." Mick leaned against the bar. "One of them looked familiar, but I couldn't place her in the dark." "What did she look like?" "Blonde. Professional type? Expensive clothes?" Laughed too loud at his jokes. Mick studied my face. "You okay, buddy?" "I'm fine. Just connecting some dots." I left Mick's and drove to my office. Cal Morrison, my coworker and the closest thing our construction company had to an IT department, was hunched over his computer debugging our project management software. "Cal, I need a favor." He looked up from his screen. Cal was 26, skinny as a rail, and could make computers do things that seemed like magic to guys like me who still used flip phones until last year. "What kind of favor?" "The kind that stays between us." Cal pushed back from his desk. "I'm listening." I showed him Vera's phone. "I need to clone this. Everything on it. Messages, emails, photos, location data, all of it." "That's some serious spy movie stuff, Cole. You sure about this?" "My wife is planning to take my kids. I need evidence." Cal was quiet for a long moment. Then he plugged a small device into his computer. "Give me the phone. This'll take about 20 minutes. While Cal worked his magic, I called Elena Torvin. Elena had been our nanny for 4 years, until Vera fired her last month for asking too many questions. What Elena had actually done was ask why Vera was never home when she claimed to be working late. "Cole?" Elena sounded surprised to hear from me. "Is everything okay? I need to talk to you, about Vera, about what you saw." Elena was quiet for so long I thought the call had dropped. Finally she said, "Meet me at the diner on Oak Street, 1 hour." The Oak Street diner was the kind of place where truckers and construction workers grabbed breakfast before dawn. Elena was already in a corner booth when I arrived, nursing a cup of coffee and looking nervous. "I signed that paper," she said before I could sit down. "The non-disclosure thing. Eli Brennan is Vera's cousin. He wrote that NDA to protect her, not you, and I'm betting it won't hold up if we can prove she was lying about why she fired you." Elena's hands tightened around her coffee cup. "What do you want to know?" "Everything. Every time she left when she said she was home. Every lie she told about where she was going. Every conversation you overheard." For the next hour, Elena painted a picture of a woman who treated motherhood like a part-time job. Vera had missed school plays, parent-teacher conferences, and soccer games, always claiming work emergencies while actually meeting Marcus in hotel rooms across 3 states. "I kept detailed logs," Elena said. Timesheets, mileage, everything. Vera insisted on documentation for tax purposes, but she never thought about what those records would show. "Do you still have them?" Elena reached into her purse and pulled out a thick folder. 4 years' worth. Every day I worked, every time she was supposed to be home but wasn't, every excuse she made. I flipped through the pages. It was devastating. On paper, Vera looked like an absent mother who dumped her children on hired help while pursuing her career and her affair. "Why are you helping me?" I asked. "Because Emma asked me why Mommy didn't love her enough to come to her school play, and because no one should lose their children to a lie." I drove home that evening with Elena's files, Cal's cloned phone data, and a plan that was starting to take shape. Vera's car was already in the driveway, which meant she'd canceled her fake work dinner. Maybe guilt was finally catching up to her. I found her in the kitchen, helping Jake with his math homework while Emma practiced piano in the living room. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for what I was about to do to her. Then I remembered her messages about taking my children away, and the feeling passed. "How was work?" I asked. "Long day. The Peterson account is giving us trouble." Another lie. According to her cloned phone, she'd spent the afternoon shopping with Marcus's credit card and texting him photos from the dressing room. "I'm sure you'll figure it out," I said. "You're good at solving problems." She looked at me strangely, like she'd heard something in my voice that hadn't been there before. She was right. Something had changed. I just wasn't ready to show her what it was yet. That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat in my home office organizing evidence and planning my next move. Vera thought she was playing chess while I played checkers. She was about to learn that carpenters know how to build more than houses. We build traps. 3 weeks later, I was replacing a bathroom fixture when my phone rang. The caller ID showed my lawyer's office. "Cole, you need to come in immediately," Jennifer Walsh said without preamble. "Vera filed for divorce this morning." I set down my wrench and walked outside. The morning air was crisp, and I could see my breath as I spoke. "What are the terms?" "Full custody of both children. The house, half your retirement. And she's claiming you're an unfit father." The words hit like a punch to the chest, even though I'd been expecting them. "On what grounds?" "Emotional absence. Neglect of parental duties. She has witnesses and documentation going back 2 years." I thought about Elena's timesheets and the cloned phone data sitting in my safe at home. "When do we respond?" "We have 30 days to file our counter petition. But Cole, I need to warn you. Her case looks solid on paper. She has photos of you missing from school events, testimony from other parents about your absence, even a psychological evaluation suggesting the children would benefit from stability. Schedule a meeting for this afternoon, and Jennifer, start preparing subpoenas for hotel records, credit card statements, and phone data, all of it." "What aren't you telling me?" "Everything she's accusing me of, she's been doing herself, and I can prove it." That afternoon, I sat in Jennifer's office and laid out 4 years of evidence. Elena's timesheets showing Vera's absences, credit card records proving her lies about business trips, photos and messages documenting her affair with Marcus. Jennifer whistled low as she flipped through the files. "This is comprehensive. Where did you get all this?" "I pay attention, and I keep records." "The phone data. How did you obtain this?" Vera left her phone unlocked. I copied what was already accessible. Jennifer nodded. "That should be admissible. What's your goal here? Joint custody? 50-50 split?" I leaned back in my chair. "Full custody. Primary residence. And I want her to pay for what she's tried to do to me and the kids." "That's ambitious. Even with this evidence?" "She called me an unfit father while planning to abandon our children for her boyfriend. She's been lying to everyone about who's actually raising Emma and Jake. I want the truth on the record." Jennifer was quiet for a moment, studying the evidence spread across her desk. "Okay, let's destroy her case piece by piece." The next month passed in a blur of depositions, document requests, and legal maneuvering. Vera played the part of the devoted mother perfectly, attending every school event and volunteering for every committee. But her sudden interest in parenting after years of absence was obvious to anyone paying attention. Elena agreed to testify, despite the NDA. Jennifer had it thrown out on the grounds that it was designed to conceal potential child neglect. Ms. Durning, our elderly neighbor, provided security camera footage showing Vera leaving the house at all hours while claiming to be home with the kids. The most damaging evidence came from Marcus himself. Under subpoena, his travel records perfectly matched Vera's hotel stays. Same cities, same dates, adjacent rooms. Their affair was documented in corporate expense reports and frequent flyer accounts. But Vera's lawyer, her cousin Eli, was building his own case. Photos of me working late at job sites. Testimony from other parents about my absence from school functions. A carefully constructed narrative of a father too focused on work to notice his family falling apart. Some of it was true. I had missed events, worked long hours, relied on Elena more than I should have, but the difference was that I'd been home every night, made breakfast every morning, and put my children to bed with stories and hugs while their mother was in hotel rooms with her boss. The custody hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday morning in November. I wore my best suit and sat beside Jennifer at the plaintiff's table, watching Vera and Eli arrange their files across from us. Vera looked perfect, as always. Professional but approachable, concerned but confident. She'd probably practiced her expressions in the mirror. Judge Patricia Hendricks called the court to order. She was in her 60s, with silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. I'd heard she was tough but fair, with little patience for games or theatrics. Eli presented Vera's case first. He painted a picture of a devoted mother struggling to balance career and family while married to an emotionally distant husband who prioritized work over children. "Mrs. Solen has been the primary caregiver for Emma and Jake throughout their lives," Eli said, gesturing toward a stack of photos. "While Mr. Solen was absent from school plays, parent-teacher conferences, and birthday parties, my client was there, documenting these precious moments." He showed the court photos of Vera at various events, smiling and engaged. What he didn't mention was that most of these photos were from the past 2 months, after she'd learned I was building a case against her. Eli called character witnesses, other mothers who testified about Vera's involvement in school activities, a child psychologist who'd evaluated our family dynamics and concluded that the children would benefit from a stable home environment with their primary caregiver. It was a masterful performance. If I hadn't known the truth, I might have believed it myself. Then it was Jennifer's turn. She stood slowly, like a gunfighter in an old western. "Your Honor, we'd like to call Mrs. Solen for cross-examination." Vera walked to the witness stand with confidence. She answered Jennifer's initial questions about her work schedule and parenting responsibilities with practiced ease. Then Jennifer asked the question that changed everything. "Mrs. Solen, can you explain why your hotel records show you were out of state 37 times while claiming to be home with the children?" The courtroom went silent. Vera's face went pale. Eli jumped to his feet. "Objection. Relevance?" "Your Honor," Jennifer said calmly, "the witness has testified that she was the primary caregiver and consistently present in the home. These records directly contradict that testimony." Judge Hendricks leaned forward. "I'll allow it. Please answer the question, Mrs. Solen." Vera opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. Those were business trips, required travel for my position." Jennifer approached the witness stand with a thick folder. "These are your employment records, subpoenaed from your company. They show only 12 authorized business trips in the past 2 years. Can you explain the discrepancy?" Some of those trips were personal. Family visits." "To which family members?" Vera's hands were shaking now. "My sister in Chicago." Jennifer pulled out another document. "Your sister's address is in Phoenix, not Chicago, and according to her deposition, you haven't visited her in 3 years." I could hear the clock ticking on the wall behind the judge's bench. "Mrs. Solen," Jennifer continued, "these hotel records show you stayed at the Riverside Hotel in Chicago 17 times in 18 months. The same hotel where Marcus Hallen, your supervisor, maintained a corporate account. Can you explain why you were both registered at the same hotel on the same dates?" Eli was on his feet again. "Objection. This is character assassination." "Your Honor," Jennifer said, "Mr. Brennan opened the door to character evidence when he presented his client as a devoted mother. We're simply showing the court what devotion actually looked like in the Solen household." Judge Hendricks nodded. "Overruled. Please answer the question, Mrs. Solen." Vera looked at Eli, who was frantically shuffling papers. She looked at me, and I saw something I'd never seen before in her eyes. Fear. "I need a recess," she whispered. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Solen, I didn't hear that." "I need a recess," Vera's voice cracked. Judge Hendricks frowned. "We'll take a 15-minute recess." But 15 minutes became 45. When we returned, Eli's confidence had evaporated. He approached the bench with Jennifer, and I could see them having an intense, whispered conversation with the judge. Finally, Judge Hendricks called us back to order. "Mr. Brennan has requested permission to withdraw his client's petition and negotiate a settlement." I felt Jennifer's hand on my arm, keeping me seated. This was it. Vera's case was collapsing, and she knew it. But I wasn't interested in settlement. I wanted the truth on the record. "Your Honor," Jennifer said, "my client would prefer to proceed with his counter-petition for full custody." The rest of the hearing was a formality. Elena testified about Vera's absences and lies. Ms. Durning showed her security footage. The hotel records, credit card statements, and phone data painted a picture of a woman who'd abandoned her children to pursue an affair, then tried to cover it up by destroying their father's reputation. The most damaging testimony came from Emma and Jake themselves. Judge Hendricks interviewed them privately in her chambers, and when they returned, both children asked to stay with me. "Daddy makes us breakfast every morning," Emma had apparently told the judge. "Mommy is always gone." Judge Hendricks delivered her ruling 3 days later. Full custody to me, with supervised visitation for Vera twice a month. The house, the kids, and child support payments that would make it impossible for her to maintain her expensive lifestyle. But the real victory wasn't legal. It was watching Vera's carefully constructed image crumble in front of everyone who mattered. Her colleagues, her friends, her family, they all saw the evidence. They all knew the truth. Marcus had been fired from his position after the hotel records became public. His wife filed for divorce the same week. Vera was placed on administrative leave while her company investigated potential misuse of corporate accounts. Their affair had cost them everything, just like they'd planned to cost me my children. I walked out of the courthouse that day with my kids' hands in mine and the satisfaction of knowing that sometimes the truth really does win. But I wasn't done with Vera yet. She tried to steal my children and destroy my reputation. Now it was time to make sure she understood the full cost of that decision. The real revenge was just beginning. The custody ruling made the local newspaper, not front page, but buried on page 6 in the legal notices section where anyone paying attention could find it. Local executive loses custody battle. Ran with just enough detail to make people ask questions. I didn't plant the story, didn't need to. Court records are public, and this town loves gossip almost as much as it loves taking sides. The first casualty was Vera's social circle. The same women who'd testified about her devotion to motherhood suddenly had scheduling conflicts when she called. PTA meetings became awkward. School pickup turned into a gauntlet of whispered conversations and pointed stares. Emma's teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, pulled me aside after the first week. I wanted you to know that Emma seems much happier lately, more settled. She's adjusting well to the new routine. Mrs. Rodriguez nodded. Children need consistency. They need to know their parents will be there. The message was clear. Everyone knew what had really been happening in our house, and they were choosing sides. Vera tried to maintain her image through social media. Photos of her weekend visits with the kids, carefully staged to look spontaneous and loving. But 2 hours every other Saturday doesn't leave much material for a convincing narrative, especially when your children look uncomfortable in every shot. The breaking point came at Jake's soccer game 3 weeks after the custody ruling. I was standing on the sideline with the other parents when Vera arrived. She'd driven straight from work, still in her business suit and heels, carrying a designer purse that cost more than most people's mortgage payments. The conversation around me died as she approached. Vera smiled brightly and tried to join the group of mothers near the goal. "How's Jake been playing this season?" she asked Jennifer Murphy, whose son played midfielder. Jennifer's smile was polite but cold. "He's been great. Cole's been really involved with the team. Haven't seen you at many games." "I've been busy with work. You know how it is." "Actually, I don't. I make it to every game." The other mothers nodded. These were women who rearranged meetings, left work early, and coordinated carpools to make sure they didn't miss their children's activities. They had no patience for Vera's excuses. Vera tried a different approach. "Well, I'm here now. That's what matters." "Is it?" The voice belonged to Carol Stevens, whose daughter Emma's age. "Because Emma told my daughter that you missed her birthday party because you were in Chicago, again." The group went quiet. Vera's face flushed red. "I had a work emergency. These things happen." "Funny thing," Carol continued. "My husband works for the same company. He says there wasn't any emergency that weekend, just the quarterly review meeting that got moved to the following week." I watched from 20 feet away as Vera's social network collapsed in real time. These women had built their community around shared sacrifice and mutual support. Vera had violated the fundamental rule: your children come first. The confrontation escalated when Marcus appeared. He'd been keeping a low profile since losing his job, but apparently decided that supporting Vera at Jake's soccer game was worth the risk of public humiliation. He walked up behind her and put his hand on her shoulder like they were a couple. The gesture sent a ripple of shock through the crowd. Everyone knew about the affair, but seeing it displayed so openly was different. It was disrespectful to the kids, to me, and to the community standards these people took seriously. "Ladies," Marcus said with his practiced corporate charm, "I hope we can all move past this unpleasantness and focus on what's best for the children." Jennifer Murphy turned to face him directly. "What's best for the children is having parents who show up, parents who tell the truth, parents who don't abandon their families for hotel rooms." Marcus's smile faltered. "I think there's been some misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding," Carol interrupted. "We all saw the court records. We all know what you two were doing while Cole was home taking care of those kids." The confrontation was drawing attention from other parents, grandparents, and even some of the older kids. Phones came out. Someone was definitely recording this. Vera grabbed Marcus's arm. "We should go." But Marcus's arrogance wouldn't let him back down. "This is a public space. We have as much right to be here as anyone." That's when I decided to intervene. I walked over to the group, nodding to the other parents. "Everything okay here?" The mothers parted to let me through. Vera looked at me with something between fear and defiance. "Hello, Cole," she said stiffly. "Vera? Marcus?" I kept my voice calm and pleasant. "Didn't expect to see you both here." "We wanted to support Jake," Marcus said. I looked at him for a long moment. Marcus Hallen was the kind of man who'd probably never been in a real fight in his life. Corporate politics and boardroom intimidation were his weapons. Standing on a soccer field surrounded by blue-collar parents, he looked soft and out of place. "That's thoughtful," I said. "Jake will appreciate having his mother here. As for you..." I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only he could hear. "I think you've done enough for my family." Marcus tried to maintain eye contact, but something in my expression made him look away. "I'm not looking for trouble." "Good, because you found enough already." The crowd was watching our exchange with fascination. This was better than cable television, real drama playing out in their own backyard. Vera tugged on Marcus's sleeve again. Please, let's just go. But the damage was done. By the end of the week, everyone in town knew about the confrontation at the soccer field. The story grew with each telling, as stories do, until Marcus became a coward who ran from a fight, and Vera became the woman who chose her affair over her children. Their relationship couldn't survive the social pressure. Marcus, already dealing with unemployment and his own divorce, decided that Vera was more liability than asset. He stopped returning her calls and moved back in with his mother in the next town over. Vera was left alone, facing the wreckage of her reputation without even her partner in destruction to share the blame. The final blow came from an unexpected source: her own company. The HR investigation into her misuse of corporate accounts had been thorough. 17 unauthorized trips, thousands of dollars in fraudulent expense reports, and a pattern of deception that made her unemployable in any position requiring trust. She was terminated on a Friday afternoon, escorted from the building by security with her personal belongings in a cardboard box. The news reached me through Cal, whose girlfriend worked in the same office building. They cleaned out her desk while she was in the parking lot crying, Cal reported. Security wouldn't even let her back up to say goodbye to anyone. I felt a moment of something that might have been pity. Then I remembered her plan to take my children away, and the feeling passed. Vera tried calling that evening. I let it go to voicemail. Cole, we need to talk. About the kids, about everything. I know I made mistakes, but we can work this out. Please call me back. I deleted the message without finishing it. We were past the point of working anything out. She'd chosen her path when she decided to destroy our family. Now she could walk it alone. The kids adapted to their new reality with the resilience that children possess. Emma stopped asking when Mommy was coming home. Jake focused on soccer and school, thriving with the stability of knowing I'd be there for every game, every conference, every moment that mattered. But I wasn't finished with Vera yet. She'd tried to take everything from me, my children, my reputation, my future. The custody battle and social humiliation were just the beginning. She was about to learn that when you declare war on a man's family, you better be prepared for total defeat. Winter came early that year, bringing gray skies and the kind of cold that seeps into your bones. Vera had been unemployed for 6 weeks, living in a studio apartment across town and struggling to make her court-ordered child support payments on unemployment benefits. I should have felt satisfied. Her life was in ruins, her reputation destroyed, her future uncertain. But every time I looked at Emma and Jake, I remembered what she'd tried to do to us, how close she'd come to succeeding. That's when I decided to finish what she'd started. The plan came together over coffee with Elena at the Oak Street Diner. She'd found a new job with a family in Portland, but still kept in touch, partly out of concern for the kids and partly because she enjoyed watching Vera's downfall. She's been calling me, Elena said, stirring sugar into her coffee, asking if I'll testify that she was a good mother, says she wants to appeal the custody ruling. I looked up from my scrambled eggs. What did you tell her? The truth, that she was never home, never engaged, never put those children first? Elena paused. But she's desperate, Cole. Desperate people do dangerous things. She was right. Vera had lost everything. Her job, her boyfriend, her children, her reputation. She had nothing left to lose, which made her unpredictable. That night, I called Jennifer Walsh. I need to know what options Vera has for appealing the custody decision. Jennifer was quiet for a moment. Limited options, given the evidence, but if she could prove the evidence was obtained illegally, or if she could show that circumstances have changed significantly. What kind of circumstances? If she could demonstrate that you're an unfit parent, document abuse, neglect, substance problems, anything that would call the original ruling into question. I thought about Vera's phone calls, her desperation, her history of manipulation and lies. She's planning something. Probably. Be careful, Cole. Document everything. Don't give her any ammunition. I hung up and walked to the window. Across the street, Mrs. Durning was taking out her trash. Her security cameras had been crucial in the custody case, showing Vera's comings and goings over the past 2 years. Those cameras were still recording. The first attempt came the following week. I was helping Jake with his homework when the doorbell rang. Through the window, I could see 2 police officers on my front porch. My heart rate spiked, but I kept my voice calm. Jake, go upstairs and work on your math problems. I'll be up to check them in a few minutes. I opened the door. The officers were young, probably new to the force, and they looked uncomfortable. Mr. Solen, we received a report of a domestic disturbance at this address. From whom? Anonymous caller. Said they heard shouting and were concerned for the welfare of children in the home. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. Officers, I've been home all evening with my kids. We've been doing homework and watching television. You're welcome to speak with them, but I'd prefer to have my lawyer present. The older officer nodded. We just need to verify that everyone's safe. Now, I called Jennifer, who arrived 20 minutes later. The officers spoke with Emma and Jake separately, confirming that there had been no disturbance, no shouting, no problems of any kind. After they left, Jennifer and I sat in my kitchen while the kids watched a movie in the living room. This was Vera, I said. Probably, but you can't prove it. Anonymous calls are hard to trace, and filing a false report is difficult to prosecute. She's going to keep trying. Yes, and eventually she might succeed. All she needs is one incident, one moment where you lose your temper or make a mistake, and she can use it to reopen the custody case. I leaned back in my chair. Then I need to make sure she's the one who makes the mistake. The opportunity came sooner than expected. Cal had been monitoring Vera's social media accounts and online activity as a favor. Most of it was pathetic. Job applications, apartment listings, desperate attempts to reconnect with old friends who were ignoring her messages. But one conversation caught his attention. She's been chatting with someone called Truth Seeker 47 on a divorce support forum, Cal reported. They've been discussing ways to prove parental unfitness. Truth Seeker 47 has some interesting suggestions, such as planting evidence, staging incidents, creating situations that would make you look bad. I felt a cold anger settle in my chest. Can you trace Truth Seeker 47? Already did. It's a fake account, but the IP address traces back to Eli Brennan's law office. Vera's cousin was helping her plan a frame-up. They were going to manufacture evidence to take my children away. Can you print out these conversations? Already done. But Cole, this is conspiracy to file false reports, potentially perjury, maybe even child endangerment, depending on what they're planning. Good. Let them dig their own graves. The trap was elegant in its simplicity. I didn't have to do anything except wait and document. Vera and Eli were planning their own destruction. The setup came on a Friday evening. Emma was at a sleepover, and Jake was spending the night with my brother in the next town. I was alone in the house when Vera showed up at my door. She looked terrible. Thin, pale, with dark circles under her eyes and clothes that had seen better days. Unemployment and social isolation were taking their toll. We need to talk, she said. About what? About our children. About giving them a real family. I let her in, knowing that Mrs. Durning's cameras were recording everything. Vera walked into our old living room and looked around like she was seeing it for the first time. I made mistakes, she said, but I love Emma and Jake. They need their mother. They need stability. They need honesty. They need parents who put them first. Vera turned to face me, and I saw something desperate in her eyes. I can change. I can be better. You had years to be better. You chose Marcus instead. That's over. He's gone. It's just me now, trying to rebuild my life. I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered the forum conversations, the false police report, the plan to frame me for abuse. What do you really want, Vera? She reached into her purse and pulled out a small recording device. I want you to admit that you've been manipulating the children against me, that you've been filling their heads with lies. Is that thing recording? Yes, I smiled. Good. Let me be very clear for your little device. I have never said a negative word about you to Emma or Jake. I've never had to. Your actions spoke loud enough. Vera's face flushed red. You turned them against me. No, Vera, you did that yourself. Every time you chose work over their school play, every time you chose Marcus over their bedtime stories, every time you chose yourself over them. She was crying now, but I wasn't moved. These were tears of frustration, not genuine remorse. I want my children back, she whispered. Then you should have thought about that before you decided to destroy their father. Vera left without another word, but I knew this wasn't over. The recording device had been a fishing expedition, hoping to catch me saying something that could be used against me in court. Instead, she'd recorded her own confession that she was trying to manipulate evidence. 3 days later, Cal intercepted another conversation between Vera and Truth Seeker 47. They were planning something for the following weekend when I had both kids home. I called Jennifer and Sheriff's Deputy Tom Morrison, an old friend from high school who'd been following Vera's harassment with interest. We'll be ready, Tom promised. Whatever she's planning, we'll document it properly. Saturday morning arrived with snow flurries and the kind of bitter cold that makes you grateful for central heating. Emma and Jake were in the kitchen making pancakes while I read the newspaper and waited for Vera to make her move. It came at 10:30. The doorbell rang, followed immediately by loud pounding. I looked out the window and saw Vera on my porch, disheveled and agitated, holding what looked like a bottle. I opened the door with my phone already recording. "Vera! You bastard!" she screamed, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. "You've poisoned my children against me." She was clearly intoxicated, swaying on her feet and slurring her words. The bottle in her hand was whiskey, half empty. "Vera, you're drunk. You need to leave." "I'm not leaving without my kids." She tried to push past me into the house. I blocked her way, gently but firmly. "You're not taking the children anywhere in this condition." That's when she swung the bottle at my head. I ducked, and the bottle shattered against the doorframe, sending glass flying. Emma screamed from inside the house. "Daddy?" Jake called. "Are you okay?" "Stay inside," I called back, never taking my eyes off Vera. She was staring at the broken glass, apparently shocked by her own violence. I didn't mean... Yes, you did." I kept my voice calm and level. "You came here drunk, tried to force your way into my home, and attacked me in front of our children." Vera looked around wildly, finally noticing Mrs. Durning recording from her window and Tom Morrison's patrol car pulling into my driveway. "This isn't what it looks like," she said desperately. "It looks like a drunk woman assaulting her ex-husband while trying to violate a custody order," Tom said as he approached with his hand on his radio. "Ma'am, I need you to step away from the door and keep your hands where I can see them." The arrest was swift and professional. Vera was charged with public intoxication, assault, and attempted violation of a custody order. The broken glass and witness statements made denial impossible. But the real evidence came from Cal's monitoring of her online activity. In her desperation after the arrest, Vera had called Eli and left a voicemail that Cal intercepted through his access to her phone. "The plan didn't work. He didn't hit me back. He didn't lose his temper. I just looked like a crazy drunk woman, and now I'm in jail." Eli's response was even more damaging. "I told you to be subtle. Make him look bad. Don't make yourself look worse. Now we have nothing." The recordings proved conspiracy and perjury. Eli was facing disbarment proceedings. Vera was looking at jail time and the permanent loss of any custody rights. But I wasn't finished yet. The final piece came from an unexpected source: Marcus. He'd been struggling with unemployment and his own divorce, drinking heavily and making poor decisions. When he heard about Vera's arrest, he called me directly. "Cole, we need to talk." "I don't think we do." "Please, there are things you don't know. Things about what Vera was planning." We met at Mick's Tavern on a Tuesday evening. Marcus looked like he'd aged 10 years in 6 months. His expensive clothes had been replaced by discount store basics, and his confident demeanor had crumbled into nervous anxiety. "She was going to claim you abused the kids," he said without preamble. "She had it all planned out. Fake bruises, coach testimony, the whole thing." I set down my beer. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I'm tired of running, tired of looking over my shoulder, tired of being part of her lies." Marcus looked directly at me for the first time. "I lost everything for that woman. My job, my wife, my kids, my reputation, and she was planning to destroy your children to get what she wanted." "What exactly was she planning?" Marcus pulled out his phone and played a recording. Vera's voice, clear and unmistakable. "The kids trust me. I can convince them that Cole hurt them. Emma's young enough to believe whatever I tell her. Jake might be harder, but kids are suggestible." I felt sick listening to it. My own wife, planning to traumatize our children to win a custody case. "Why did you record this?" "Insurance. I knew she was unstable, and I wanted protection if things went wrong." Marcus paused. "I never thought she'd actually go through with it." The recording was the final nail in Vera's coffin. Combined with the conspiracy evidence and her drunken assault, it painted a picture of a woman so desperate to win that she was willing to psychologically abuse her own children. Jennifer filed the recording with the court as evidence of Vera's unfitness as a parent. The judge was horrified. Vera's supervised visitation was suspended indefinitely, and she was ordered to undergo psychiatric evaluation before any future contact with Emma or Jake. But the real victory wasn't legal. It was watching Vera's last supporters abandon her when the truth came out. Even her own family turned away when they heard the recording of her planning to manipulate the children. She was completely alone, exactly as she'd tried to leave me. I ran into her one last time, 3 months later, at the grocery store. She was thinner, grayer, wearing clothes from the discount rack and counting coupons at the checkout. She saw me and quickly looked away, but not before I caught the expression in her eyes. Fear, shame, and something that might have been recognition of what she'd lost. I didn't speak to her, didn't acknowledge her presence. She'd become exactly what she deserved to be, irrelevant. That night, I tucked Emma and Jake into their beds in the house that was now truly ours. They were happy, secure, surrounded by people who loved them and told them the truth. Vera had tried to take all of that away. Instead, she'd given me something more valuable than revenge, the certainty that my children were safe from her lies forever. Sometimes the best justice is simply letting people destroy themselves. You just have to be patient enough to watch it happen, and I'm a very patient man. 6 months after Vera's final arrest, I was coaching Jake's Little League team when I saw her one last time. She was sitting in her car across from the baseball field, watching through the chain-link fence as our son rounded second base. She looked older, worn down by unemployment and isolation. Her car was a 10-year-old sedan that had seen better days, a far cry from the luxury vehicles she used to drive. I walked over to the fence after the inning ended. "You're not supposed to be here." She rolled down her window. "I'm on public property. I'm not violating the restraining order." "What do you want, Vera?" "I want to watch my son play baseball. Is that too much to ask?" I looked at her for a long moment. The woman who'd once commanded corporate boardrooms and manipulated everyone around her now looked small and defeated. "Yes," I said simply. "It is." She drove away without another word. That evening, Emma asked me about the woman in the car. "Was that Mommy?" "Yes." She looked sad. "Yes, she did." Emma was quiet for a moment, processing. "Do you think she misses us?" I chose my words carefully. "I think she misses the idea of you, but missing someone and loving them aren't the same thing." "What's the difference?" "Love means putting the other person first. Always, even when it's hard." Emma nodded like that made sense to her 8-year-old logic. "Like how you came to my school play even though you had to leave work early?" "Exactly like that." Later, after the kids were asleep, I sat in my home office looking at the files from our custody battle. Hundreds of pages of evidence, testimony, and legal documents that told the story of a marriage's destruction and a family's survival. Vera had tried to take everything from me through lies and manipulation. Instead, she'd lost everything through her own choices. I hadn't destroyed her, I'd simply documented her destruction of herself. That's the art of ruin. Sometimes the best revenge is just holding up a mirror and letting people see what they've become. My phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer Walsh. Vera's appeal was denied. The custody ruling is final. I deleted the message and closed the files. That chapter of our lives was over. Emma and Jake would grow up knowing their father had fought for them, protected them, and never abandoned them. They'd learn that actions have consequences, that truth matters more than convenience, and that real love requires sacrifice. Vera would grow old alone, wondering what might have been if she'd made different choices. I turned off the office light and went upstairs to check on my sleeping children. They were safe, happy, and home where they belonged. That was worth more than any revenge.